Welcome to the Big Talks podcast, where real conversations spark bold vision. From real estate and legacy to faith, business, and the hunt for something more, we dive deep with guests from all walks of life. No fluff, just real talk to help you build a life and legacy that matters.
Yeah, dude. Doing insurance.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Big Talks podcast. I'm your host, Austin Bowman. Today, our guest is Jennie Buah. She is a realtor, investor, and stager within Keller Williams. So tell us a little bit about your backstory, how long you've been in real estate, and what inspired you to choose your career path.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on this inaugural Spotify podcast, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You're getting big in the world.
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah. So exciting. So what brought me into real estate and design, and investments? I grew up in the Northeast Wisconsin area.
Okay.
And I ended up going to college down in Des Moines to get a vocal performance degree, which I then decided to use as part of my life, but not my livelihood.
Yeah.
And I just sort of landed in corporate. So I've been corporate for the last 15, 17 years.
Okay.
And I landed in healthcare IT down in Madison, working at Epic, and was doing project management for them. So I traveled around the country. I was a road warrior for many years. And in 2012, I left Epic, which they made you live in Madison. So I decided to leave Epic. And I was interviewing around the country and didn't know exactly where I was going to live. And we didn't want the mortgage hanging over our heads for the condo that we had.
Yeah.
So we just made a spur of the moment decision to rent out our condo. And I remember specifically it was December 27th because by December 28th, we already had a renter. And then we said, oh, shoot, like, what are we supposed to do now? Yeah, we already rented out our place. We downloaded a lease from the internet and used a prayer, to be able to get this
Hopefully
through.
This is right.
Yeah. I don't recommend that to anybody now. If you want to rent your places, there are better paths. I can help you with that.
Yeah, don't use a lawyer or anything either.
But internet leases, be careful. But luckily, we were fine. Everything worked out fine. But I caught the real estate bug then in 2012.
You're like, oh, wait a minute. A little light bulb went off.
Yeah, for sure. So we were renting that place, and then we moved into a small little one-bedroom over a pizza shop thing.
Yeah.
And continued investing in Madison until we moved back up here in 2018. And now I'm, establishing my portfolio up here.
Yeah.
That whole time I was working corporate until 2023 when I retired from my corporate life. Yeah. And decided to go full-time into real estate.
So was corporate like a cubicle and the whole 9 yards of what people view what do you mean by corporate, I guess I should ask?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For a person who's not been in corporate, what does that actually look like for you?
Sure. So, sometimes it was a cubicle, sometimes it was an office, sometimes it was working 4 a.m. in the airports because that's when I was traveling. I used to travel every single week from Madison to Dallas. For 2 years I would do that. Yeah. Fly down on Monday, come home on Thursday, do it all over again the next week.
Fun.
So it is what it is. But other times I got to go on a contract for 2 years in San Diego, and I rented a house in San Diego. So
that's pretty cool.
It was as hard as it was glamorous. Both of those two things were true at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of computer work, right? Yeah. A lot of Excel, a lot of...
looking at a screen, spreadsheets, and...
Yeah. Project management work, right?
Yeah.
Helping people figure out their goals. How do you do things in a systematic way? What steps do you need to do? Mm-hmm. What order do you need to do them in? What things are you doing to begin with? What scope do you have? How much money do you have? What budget do you have? Yeah. So taking all of that into account, when I decided to leave that world and move into real estate full-time, I looked for transferable skills. And that project management skill set moves straight into flipping houses.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's all just, who are you going to do? Or who are you going to work with? Yeah. In what order? On what timeline? With what budget? It's all the same questions. Yeah. Right? So I also really enjoy seeing houses get reinvented. Yeah. Because the houses that I work on typically are the blights of the neighborhood, right?
Yep.
That one that's on your corner that everybody drives by and they're like, oh,
there's a reason that you got it for cheap. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's there's always reasons, right? And sometimes it's just houses that are neglected, right? That you didn't have enough money or somebody didn't have enough money to update. Or sometimes it's a disaster, like there's a water event in the basement.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just, people get into situations in life that are hard to get out of, right?
Yeah. Well, it's not always easy to throw a $20,000 roof if you got 4 kids.
Exactly.
And you're you could barely get in the house in the first place, and now, yeah, it's not hard to get into those situations where you can't afford to upkeep something.
Absolutely. It happens to all of us. Like, we are not immune. Like, I have had to sell a house like that as well, right? To an investor because I did not have enough money after, I had a tenant in there.
Yeah.
And by the time the tenant moved out, I didn't have enough money to do the fix that was necessary.
Yeah.
And it happens to all of us.
Well, I think also, like, this brings up kind of a good topic that's good to talk with you about is I think a lot of, like, investors definitely culturally get a bad rap. But
That's
people
true.
need to also realize that there's a lot of positives that come from having investors. Like, obviously the whole, like, rental world, there's a lot of people who can't afford a house.
Right.
If there weren't investors who owned 10 houses plus as rentals, they wouldn't have a place to rent.
Options.
So, like, it still is housing that gives people an opportunity to have a house instead of, like, a small, tiny apartment. Like, there's a big positive there. And then there's also a big positive that, there's a lot of neighborhoods in Oshkosh that look a lot better now, and a lot more, like, housing values have gone up in certain areas because investors over the years have flipped every other house down the road.
Yep, exactly.
And so all of a sudden, 10 years later, this street was really well known as a bad street. Now all the houses have been updated.
That's right.
And that only happens with somebody who has the pocket or the wherewithal to be able to do that. And that's not a slight on people who don't, but
not at all.
Like, you got to give them the positives as well, to investors who take the risk and buy the house that has a hole in the roof because a branch fell on it and nobody did insurance or didn't, or something. And he buys it and finds out that the roof is going to be $40,000 because all the sheeting has to be redone. Like, yeah, he might get a bad rep because now he's going to rent it out. But guess what? He put up $40,000 to fix that roof. Did that other, who else did that?
Plus all the money to buy the house, you have to pay the mortgage.
He might have worked for 30 years to be able to have the down payment to be able to start buying investments.
Maybe.
Like, not everybody gets handed that in the beginning or gets it from a flip. He might have done a factory job for 20 years. And now he finally saved up enough to buy his first investment.
Yeah.
And then, you know what I mean? Like, there's multiple avenues to being it.
Yeah. I actually would say the majority of investors that I know do not come into it with family money.
Yeah.
Or with their own money even. So many of us, there are ways that you can get or utilize money. We call it other people's money, right?
Yeah.
OPM, other people's money. But there are lenders who help with this as well, right? So people who, it might be their company that lends to flippers, right? Or to investors short term. It's usually 6-9 months. Or just people who have built their careers over time and they also lend on short term projects like this. So most of us are not, we don't have silver spoons in our mouths.
No, a lot of times you're having to transfer the equity from a flip to the next one. It's not because you got the $100,000 sitting there to throw into the next house.
Nope. I'm constantly recycling my money. I was just talking to somebody about that yesterday. How, like, I'm closing on one at the end of August, just in time to pay my contractors for the one that I just closed on, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's the cyclical version of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it builds up over time, but you just keep investing into the business. And that's how the process works.
Yeah, like, you have to keep using the money.
Yes.
Usually. And with a lot of the programs. Yeah, no, exactly. So, I think that's something that is just a misconception with a lot of investors that, their grandpa gave them $100,000 or whatever. So it must have been easy to buy that first house or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
but if you don't know who to talk to, also that can be a big threshold. So that might be why people think that.
Exactly.
They're like, well, the only way that I know somebody can buy a house like that is by having by having $40,000, 20% down on a $200,000 house that needs some help right now.
Absolutely.
And
actually, that's one of the harder ways to go about doing it, because most bank loans they won't loan on properties in those conditions.
Yeah.
Right. So unless you're doing, turnkey properties where you're buying a regular home and you're immediately renting it out and not needing to do a lot of rehab, you can get bank loans on those. But the ones like you just described, with a hole in the roof or maybe a fire or water or pet damage, whatever it is, any of these really distressed properties, banks won't loan on those.
Yeah.
So you have to find other ways to get into them first, and then do the rehab, make it look nicer, make it presentable to a family again, or, residential people again, and then be able to sell it or refinance.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, it's that's super interesting. Well, let's get to the first question I have for you. Yeah. All right. So what first sparked your interest in flipping houses, and how did you get started?
Yeah. So as I said, I wanted that transferable skill set into real estate, right? So I started flipping houses because it was very clear, project management, like it just was one-to-one. And I already knew how to do that. I also was really interested in the interior design process. I love picking out countertops and cabinets and flooring. And I have grown into the furniture side of it too. You said that I have a staging company as well. So the furniture side of it is something that I do now, but what I really love to do is the architectural interior design.
Sure, yeah.
Where I can move walls and where I can open up spaces and where I can add more light, and where that stuff is fun to me.
Yeah.
I could do that all day.
Well, that's
every day.
the things that a lot of people can just go in there and whitewash and gray floor.
Yeah, no, I don't
house.
do that.
But to be able to change the house to really update it to what people are looking for nowadays.
Right.
Like we've done a couple flips, and when we did ours, we always tried to do kind of a higher end.
Yep.
Like put nice flooring in there.
Exactly.
And then put decent, not just the Menards special cabinets, put decent cabinets in there. You're not putting in the top tier, usually, unless the house couldn't support that. But put in good stuff, and then and then try to what can we do? My wife, you would get along with my wife. She loves coming into a house, be like, what would this look like if we removed this and changed this? And she's very much the cosmetic vision of the house, what the house can be.
The challenge is doing it on your budget, right?
Yep.
So you really have to be very disciplined, because you can get into the house and start dreaming big. We went, I took a group to one of my flips in Green Bay last night to teach them. We did a property tour, and I was teaching them a bit about what I see and got feedback from them on what they saw and how to walk a property and how to estimate rehab and all of that. And they came up with some super crazy ideas, you could do this and you could do this and you could do this. And I said, yeah, but can you do that on a $40,000 budget?
Yeah.
Right. And then they looked at me and they're like, oh,
because you got to pay attention to what the house, will the house be worth when you're done? And you can overspend on a bunch of stuff that doesn't help that.
Yes.
Like a good example to me is appliances. Get something good, but you do not need to throw a $5,000 fridge.
No.
That is not going to matter as much.
Right.
The top tier, throwing good carpet, don't throw the top tier. I had a client when I sold a property, they had come out and told me hey, we just spent $10,000 or whatever it was. This is years ago. $10,000 on brand new carpet on the whole house. And I'm like, that's great. But it was in a price range where that didn't matter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, a house at this price should have nice carpet.
Yep.
So it doesn't really help. Sure, it helps when people walk through and it is nice.
And it's fresh.
But it doesn't add, fundamentally, it adds value in terms of how the showing goes. It shows better, but not necessarily an exact dollar amount. I can't just tack $10,000 onto the house because you just put it into it.
No.
It's like saying, hey, this house is $500,000. And we put a roof on 3 years ago. I'm like, well, yeah,
those things are utilitarian.
Nice.
They're necessary to maintain the house.
Yep.
And when you do those items, yes, we have to spend on them. That's part of home ownership. But it it doesn't mean that it's going to impact the value of your house.
I just put a $20,000, $30,000 roof on this $500,000 house. That doesn't make it $530,000.
No, it does not.
You know, like maybe you'll get a better offer because they're glad it has a newer roof on it. They don't have to deal with that, but it should have a nicer roof on it. It's a $500,000 house, you know. So, but yeah, the same thing goes with flips. It's like, and what's interesting and fun to me is every house is very different when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Because you got area, you have, you know, the style of the house, the square footage, you know, how much does that add up if you're redoing all the flooring? And you got to think about those things. But I always enjoyed the fact of like at least knowing that it is decent stuff. Because I will say that one thing that does hurt you is if you throw in the cheapest of everything.
I agree.
Because then if that buyer walks through, maybe you get lucky and that buyer doesn't notice. But I guarantee you, if they have an experienced real estate agent, they're going to walk through and be like, "This was pretty quickly flipped with pretty cheap stuff."
I have actually given that advice one time. So one time I remember doing a virtual tour as a realtor, and it was obviously a flipped house. And I talked the people out of it. Like I went all around and I said, here's what I see here. Here's how they put lipstick on this. Here's how, you know, they covered this or they didn't do this.
And I've had some investors tell me like, hey, we ended up having to do that because we didn't have a choice. We had like,
and that's true.
We got into it.
Sometimes.
Yeah. We got into it and found out there was major foundation issues. We were $15,000 over budget. We had to do a light flip. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But if you can avoid that, that's why the buy, like how much you got it for, is so important. Like a lot of investors will back out over $5,000.
I do.
If it doesn't math out, if the math doesn't work out.
What I love about investing and working with investors, because that's the primary, in my agency business, I really only work with investors.
Yeah.
People who want to learn how to buy and hold or do flips, or people who are selling flips.
Yeah.
And the reason that I like doing that is because they are numbers driven, right?
Yeah.
If a property works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Like the other day, I was offered an opportunity to buy a property by a wholesaler, somebody who brings some of these distressed properties to my attention. And I went through, they wanted 175 and I could only get to 154 based on my numbers.
Yeah.
And I gave them 154 and they said no. And that's fine. Like I can't come up to 174.
Yeah.
I just
can't. It's a mathematical equation that I'm being emotional if I don't follow that.
Exactly.
And emotional might cost me a lot of money. Mm-hmm. I might get away with a few. Yeah. But one of the times you're going to get,
if you're lucky,
your luck's going to run out. Yes. One of the times, and you're going to get a $10,000, $20,000, maybe more bill.
I think this is
saying,
a really good,
hey, you bought wrong.
Yeah. I think this is a good philosophical life lesson, right? That the difference between, or maybe the correlation between discipline and luck. Because I think many people, once you get to be successful, they say, oh, you're so lucky, right? Like, you're so lucky. Yeah. Like, I wish I had that. Or, man, I mean, your life just seems to always work out for you, right? I mean, you're so lucky. Yeah. But it's not luck, right? It's the discipline that gets you to the point of success, right? And holding to those numbers, or working until midnight filling staging containers because you have to.
Well, I think real estate, I don't know if investing has that I think people assume investing is like, oh, you just have so much money that you can just be an investor and it must be nice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stress.
I hear that all the time.
When be nice. My first flip ever, walked through the Inspector Mist knob and tube. I was young, didn't really know how big of a deal that was.
Yep.
And I didn't really look.
Giving me anxiety, just sitting here.
Oh yeah. You're like, oh. So first flip, I don't have a lot of money.
Yep.
And it was like, I think it was the cheapest quote I got was $9,000 to get rid and swap which isn't terrible for redoing all knob and tube. Luckily, the house wasn't terrible for that, but still, like my first flip, and like I'm talking the first week of having this place, I'm like, cool, there's $9,000. I'm like, what else am I going to find
that you didn't anticipate?
Yeah. And I'm like, so I was like kind of freaking out inside, and that's how, that was my first one. So that happens all the time too. But I think the same thing transfers to being in real estate. I think a lot of people are like, oh, you must make so much money. It must be nice. Like, oh, the glam. Because all you're seeing is the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Where
Well,
they're
seeing
posting
the
all the
top line.
positives, you know.
And they're also seeing the top line in what the commission is. And they forget that there's business behind that, right?
And taxes.
And taxes. Like, I mean, the good businesses around the world, right? Not just
Yeah.
real estate. The good businesses around the world are still just making 30, 40% profit by the end of everything that they're investing in.
Yeah, if you're doing that, you're doing really well.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
better because a lot of people are just breaking even.
Yeah.
You know, like I've had years in real estate where I was breaking even.
Again, it's all about going back to discipline.
One
If
thing
you are
I always
disciplined.
like, one of the biggest recommendations I've given to new agents is stay in it. I'm like,
Stay the course.
figure out a way to stay in this because not everybody starts their first month with 5 transactions. Most don't.
Does anybody?
Probably 99% don't. I've known a few that start their first year was their biggest year. And then they thought that was how it was. And then they ended up leaving real estate because they just didn't develop any discipline. And then the second year came and it was hard because all of a sudden they ran out of all their friends.
Yeah.
And then a lot for them was like, you know, probably like 1 or 2 a month.
Sure.
You know, but when you're a first time agent, man, I would have loved 1 or 2 a month. I'm like, geez Louise, you know, like,
Sounds nice. Yeah.
you know, 24 transactions in a year in your first year is pretty great. And that'd be very, very great. But, you know, all of a sudden that person, it gets down to discipline and they didn't have it or something and they ended up leaving and they decided to get out. And I'm like, figure out a way to stay in it because sometimes those years add up and knowledge adds up and all of a sudden you look back and you're like, oh, I'm doing good.
Right.
You know, because I've stuck with it and I've learned a lot and
Right.
kept, you know, kind of along the lines of discipline.
Yeah.
You know?
You know, one of the things that I teach to new investors too is mindset on.
Sure.
And it's actually the inverse bell curve of change. So this is not about investing or it's a change management principle.
Yeah.
Where anytime you start something new, you have lots of momentum getting
Yeah.
to the top of it, right? And talking about the first year, they have lots of transactions, right? They're excited. They're telling everybody about it. They're hitting a couple highs, right? They're getting a couple wins. And then it starts to peter off. Inevitably, it always does. Like whether you're in a career change or you're doing a project like a flip or you're whatever it is, maybe you might be even just learning a new language, like whatever, any sort of project that you're working on, you always lose some momentum, right?
Yep.
And then it goes down and down and down, and you start to question your life, and you start to question why you're doing this and why you made this decision. And I like to tell people that ahead of time because it's normal.
Yeah.
It's normal to experience that lack of motivation, the dip in motivation. You're going to have some things that hit you, like your electrical, or I had a stack that was cracked that I didn't notice on my first one, and I had to dig up concrete and get the whole thing.
Cool.
You know, and that was a $10,000 mistake.
Yeah.
And then I want to get back to that too. The very first couple flips and the mistakes that you make and how I think about that. But anyway, on this inverse bell curve, you're going to get to that valley of despair is what I call it, right?
Yeah.
That point where you can make the choice to either continue to plow through, have patience, have faith, whatever that means to you. It will get better, right?
Yeah.
This is the lowest point and you should expect it. It happens every single time.
Yep.
You can choose to stay the course and it will get better if you find the right people, find the right discipline, just keep plowing forward. Or you can choose to exit.
Yeah.
And then you're going to find another path to get on, and you're just going to keep going on that roller coaster, right?
Yeah.
Top and then despair, exit. Top, despair, exit, right? That's what most people do. Mm-hmm. But if you stay the course, it does even out, right?
Yeah.
It gets better, and you're going to get wins, and you will see it come to fruition if you have patience.
That's a super common thing in real estate. I think that's one of the probably the biggest reason people get out is they hit that real estate wave.
Yes.
Where, I got 4 transactions and a bunch of clients, and all of a sudden, no closings for 2 months.
Yep.
All of a sudden, boom, I'm good. We're eating good. We're going out to eat. Spend all your money.
Yeah.
Don't. and then
There's a theme
we
to
ran
this,
out
I
of money.
suppose.
Yeah, because people get
This
distracted by the
discipline
work
theme.
they have, and they don't focus sometimes on what they need to do to keep the work going.
Yes.
And I've struggled with that my whole career. because I'm very ADD, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I can go hunting this weekend. And all of a sudden I didn't work for a couple days. And then it's like, oh, well, that means in a month and a half, I won't get a check for those couple of days that I didn't work.
Right.
So like there's definitely a balance to that, because if you're a workaholic, you can put your phone down when you're with your family, have your family time. There's times where you need to not be working.
Yeah.
But at the same time, every moment you're not working means you're not going to make money at sometime down the road.
Well, that depends on what you're building.
That's true.
So
not necessarily with investments.
Yeah, with investments,
with sales.
the whole idea with sales, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, anything that's active where you're trading your time for money, that's true. If you stop working, then you don't have any income.
Yeah.
The whole idea with investing, though, which the flips is not to this case, right? The flips is active, just like sales. If I don't find another flip, I don't get
active
paid.
Short term. Yeah. Yeah.
But with the longer term investments, and however you define that, it might be real estate long term investments like rentals. It might be putting your money in the stock market. It might be lending your money to somebody else. It might be however you choose to invest your money. The whole idea of that is that you get dividends based on your investments, and your money works while you sleep.
Yeah.
Like, unless you learn to make money work for you, then you will always be working for it.
Yeah.
So
that's so true. Well, I think that's the big draw to investing, is that's what you're creating. Where a lot of real estate agents are using the sales to get to the point. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do.
The good ones are.
Yeah. Like where I'm using, my goal is to use real estate as a tool to get to where I want to be with investing.
Right.
Whereas,
on my whiteboard, my main middle goal, like the thing that I look at every day is my money makes my money.
Yeah.
And that is my whole goal. Like everything that I need to decide during the day is run through that litmus test.
Yeah.
And am I doing something that allows me to leverage? Or am I doing something that just makes me feel better because I'm busy?
Yeah. Oh, that's a huge thing. I mean, you see it with a lot of agents will come into and this is back to sales, but a lot of agents will come into the office, walk around the office, talk, maybe have a coffee. You don't see their computer come out at all.
Right.
And then they leave after
phone.
3 hours, and they probably go home feeling like they went to work.
Yep.
I'm like, well, no, you did the same thing as going to a coffee shop and socializing.
Yeah.
Which sometimes that can get you business, but you're probably not going to get business going to the real estate office to talk to other real estate agents.
Yeah.
Like maybe super rare, right? You'd be better off going to Panera and talking to random people. Much better off, like if you're looking for sales.
Yeah, that depends on what you do, right? So
yeah,
I do that. So
yeah.
I mean, I bring out my computer.
I worked from Panera yesterday, I'm not donning it, But.
Yeah, no, but I do sometimes just like come into the office to talk with other realtors.
Sure.
And it's not just realtors, right? Like last night I said I ran an investor meeting, and one of my main lead generation strategies is networking with people.
Oh yeah.
And talking with other people in the industry, right? Other agents, other investors, maybe lawyers or other estate professionals or like other people who have hands in the real estate pot.
Yeah.
Because all of us have exposure to homes that you don't know what to do with, right? Yeah. You as, an investor realtor as well may come across a house and you know how to flip it, but many don't, right?
Yeah.
There are plenty of houses that we get into as a listing agent that you realize cannot go on market.
Yeah.
You cannot list this house. It is in such a condition that like there is pet damage everywhere. There might be mold. There might be water. There might be fire. There might be just really outdated to the point where you think the market won't support it.
Yeah.
What do? Do you drop that lead? What does that person do to be able to sell that house? That's why you said at the very beginning, like the usage of investors, like where we live in this ecosystem. And that is how we help, right?
Yes.
I like to think of being an investor as, yes, all of us are looking out for our future. And it's, one of the ways that I'm building that for myself and for my kids.
Yeah.
But it's also to be able to help, right?
Yeah.
I want to be able to get these homes into a condition that we can actually use them as a general society again. I like doing that.
Well, it only uplifts that street, that area, and that whole community.
But it also allows for an easy solution for the people who are needing to sell homes like that. So they don't have to put in $50,000 of the rehab, or sometimes more, because they have to pay retail prices at retail rehabbers, right?
Yeah.
Renovation specialists.
They're quoting it out with like a bunch of contractors, whereas some investors.
They're paying $30,000 for the kitchen, whereas I will pay $8,000 for the kitchen because I know where to get my materials. I have a team. I have
people, like a contractor might give you a better deal because you keep him employed all the time. Like he's not going to give you the regular charge.
For sure.
Yeah. Like we have that with some plumbers and electricians that like are just our guy we call.
Yep.
And I mean, I've had a lot of little things where he's like, oh yeah, I just put water in there and it's fine. And I'm not going to get a bill for that. Whereas normally, like if it's a stranger, you might get a bill.
Right.
Just for their coming, $100 for them coming out, whatever.
Yeah. But the investor is that tool, right? For people who
it's a completely necessary thing that society needs.
And it's never, it's going to be a fast close. Super. I mean, it can be a week.
You're probably not dealing with too many. You're not dealing with too many nitpicky inspections and stuff like that. Where
almost always, the investor offers are going to be cash, no contingencies. Almost always. They know how to walk through that house. Yep. They've dealt with most things. Yep. They're very experienced, it's a safe offer because it's sure thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a cash offer. You can close really fast. It's no drama.
Yeah.
You don't have to deal with appraisals and inspections and emotions, and it's going to be your lowest dollar amount though, right? You trade, right?
It's not best of both worlds,
right? I mean, I see this as kind of a teeter-totter, right?
Yeah.
So you go with speed, convenience, no drama, lower dollar amount, or you go with MLS, where you have to do the rehab yourself potentially, and then you have to deal with all the showings, and you have to deal with people that have more contingencies and sometimes drama and other things that happen with that.
Yep.
But you get more money. So it's just a teeter-totter, right? It just depends on what is important to you. What are your motivating factors? What is most important for you to be able to sell this house?
Yeah.
And it's helpful to know that the investor is there as a tool, which is why I do some of that networking where I just come into the office and I talk to people. Or I talk to other people and say, I am an investor.
Yeah.
Please use me as one of your tools.
I think that's one of the... So the reason I have my office in Appleton is because of the camaraderie. I like being able to come and have a door so that I'm too ADD, that I can lock myself in a room and get stuff done. But when I come out of the room, I want to be able to talk to people.
Yeah.
I want to be able to go to your office and ask you investment questions if I have any, or go to, I had a long conversation with Hope about a listing in Appleton, and I'm like, not really sure what to do about this one. What do you think? Yep. That's the huge value
really
of an
helpful.
office. What do you know? Have you met Dina Mitchell? Shout out Dina Mitchell. Haven't talked to you in a while. But
Dina is my coach.
Oh, really? Hey.
Yeah.
So she gave me, when I first joined real estate, 2015, and then I became KW in 2016. It was maybe like a year later. And I was working in the Appleton office, had a cubicle. And at this time, Dina was like very intimidating to me, right? Which she could come off that way. I love Dina, right? But, she's very, she walks with a power. And I like that about her, right? She was, she led the office. I was intimidated a little bit and very experienced. And she leaned over to me and she said, I'm glad you're in the office, but I don't want to see you in the office too much.
Because that means you're not in the field.
Yep. And that was one, I will never forget that moment. I remember, the building has changed, but I could tell you exactly where she said that.
Yeah.
And it's in the other side, but, it was by where my cubicle was.
Yeah.
And I just remember her pulling that aside, and it was stern, but in a benefit you loving way.
Yes.
I'm glad you're in the office, but don't be here too much.
Great mentors do it that way.
There needs to be a push there. And that's what I think, if you're coming to the office, come to the office for the benefits that the office provides. But then also go do your door knocking, go market. Don't just go home.
Yeah.
Like, don't go home and be like, I went and didn't have any valuable conversations.
Right.
Therefore, I worked.
Right.
Like, well, you got to do something. You can have full days where it's just about your knowledge and not connecting with people. And then days about connecting with people, growing leads. Like, it doesn't always have to be about, growing leads, buyers. It can also be about learning, like going to a conference, going to family reunion and learning more about real estate. So then when that client does come, you have the knowledge to be able to help them.
Or even just working on your business. Like I took myself on a solo retreat a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. It's a practice that corporate does all the time. And I realized that a lot of small businesses don't have the, discipline. This darn word just keeps coming back.
Yeah.
But a lot of small businesses don't use that kind of discipline, right? To be able to take that step back.
Yeah.
Every quarter, every 6 months, every year, whatever frequency is best for you.
Yeah.
I actually do it weekly. Every Friday morning I do it. But
really?
this was,
okay.
I take myself to a coffee shop to work on my business because it's so easy to just work in your business, right? And you just get lost in the transactions and the hustle and I got to drive here. I've got to, stage here. I have to have this listing presentation. Life gets crazy and you forget to work on the systems and the business part. So I took myself on a solo retreat a couple weeks ago because Dina and I are actually working on trying to really make sure that the systems and process and tools of the business are set up to be able to scale, right? And you have to be prepared. You can't just be running on your hamster wheel, right?
Yeah, yep.
You need to make sure that you are set up with the raft in the water, right? To be able to, and then, eventually, like we were talking about how you build leverage, right? And how you build people around you, whether you're running a team or not. You still need people around you. This is not a solo endeavor. None of these things are solo endeavors, right? So you got to have people at this or in this or in this or in this or, and they need to know why, right? So really taking that time to step back. And what I did in that retreat was kind of outline all of the different aspects of my business. Like, what am I going to do for lead generation? Right? You talk about people coming in and maybe not even knowing what they need to do for lead generation.
Yeah.
Like, what is their master skill? Not everybody is going to be good at door knocking and cold calling.
No.
That is not my skill set.
No.
You make me do that, I'm going to be sick for the next 3 days.
Yeah.
Like, that is not my thing.
Yeah.
But get me in front of a room as a host of a real estate investor association and getting on a podcast like this and blasting that out on social. Sure. Cool.
Well, and what's cool about
And
it
that's
is
lead generation.
like, it's also like, do something. Like,
But-
it doesn't have to be
But make
any
sure that
specific thing.
But make sure that it's tied to your goal.
Yes.
Right? Don't just do things to do things.
Yep.
That's worthless. You're going to get yourself in exactly the same position that you were last year. Right? Make sure you know where you're going. Otherwise, any road will take you there. Is that
well, and
phrase,
it's
right?
interesting because you can learn about yourself by doing those things too. Like, I've learned over this last probably 6 months that I enjoy. I think it was a threshold that was hard for me to get over, but like video. I'm like, it's not that hard to do this, to do a video. And I'm like, why am I not? And so now I'm like, all right, let's be intentional. Let's schedule times. And sometimes they have to shift around a little bit. Like today almost happened. But then that's just life.
Be flexible.
Yeah, that's just life. But I mean, I'm enjoying video, which is something that I didn't really do before.
Sure.
And I think it's becoming more prevalent in real estate. So like, I'm trying to be intentional with that. But knowing those things and learning those things about you are a big part of the business. Don't just be, if you hate door knocking and if you don't feel like you're good with it, you're not confident with it, don't force yourself to door knock every day.
Absolutely.
Like, I still think like,
You'll avoid it.
yeah, exactly. And it's going to make you hate real estate if it's something that you hate. So let's figure out, what do you like? What clicks with you? What's your skills and your talents? Everybody has them.
Yep.
And let's figure out what works with you.
That's right.
So.
And I think that even on the clients that you're trying to reach as well, right?
Yeah.
So I said that my agency business is focused primarily on investors because that's what I know. That's what I'm passionate about. I know how to talk with other investors. I know what their motivations are. Like that's what gets me up in the morning. So like, choose your audience, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to be everything to everybody. It actually was very interesting because this winter, like last year in this winter, I didn't have that extreme focus on who my clients are. And my business has taken off since I defined it.
Yeah.
Like now people know what to call me for.
Uh-huh.
Right? Before I was just doing anything.
Call me for anything.
I mean, I could do luxury, I could do condos, I could do investments, but you can't. Like you can't actually do all of those things well. It's just not really possible.
You're learning
bit.
learning a new thing constantly then. And so then you're not confident going into it.
Right. And now I really just focus on investment properties.
Yeah.
Right? Whether you want to buy and hold, whatever, residential or commercial, or flip property. And I can coach you on that.
Yeah.
Like immediately, you send me a duplex and I can immediately tell you what the possible rents are, what your mortgage might be, what your costs might be, whether it's going to cash flow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Within minutes,
yeah,
I can tell you those things.
Yeah,
right?
Because you're just in it,
I'm in it.
So you just know the numbers, they're fresh, and you have the experience to back it up.
Right.
Yeah, that's huge.
And if you know who you're talking to, then they know how to get hold of you.
Yep. And investors are definitely like a type. Usually, like there's a way to talk to an investor normally.
We tend to be very pragmatic people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So I mean, it's like. And they appreciate somebody who can have that same approach, Right. All right, so one more question for you because I know you're running out of time for you to get where you got to go. So I
got to go to a stage. Got to keep working.
Hey, got to keep working. Yeah. What are some of the most? Give me one of the most common mistake or mistakes that a first-time flipper makes, and how to avoid them.
Yeah. You mentioned a few minutes ago that the money is made in the purchase, right? That's a very common investing phrase. Mm-hmm. That you succeed based on your ability to find the right deal and to make sure
and stick to it.
And stick to it,
yep.
Right? We already did talk about that. Like stick to your numbers, know your numbers, understand your rehabs, etc., and you purchase the deal correctly, and that will allow you to do success. Mm-hmm. So I think. One of the mistakes is talking yourself into a deal, right? Fudging the numbers a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I can probably do the windows myself. I really just, I don't know. I mean, do I really need this $2.50 flooring? I mean, can I get away with the $1.20 flooring?
Yeah.
I mean, if you have to talk yourself into a deal, it's not a deal, right?
Yeah.
You have to be very clear on
a deal. Especially when you know what you're talking about, it's a deal when it is.
Yep.
And I think that's why investors are so willing to be like, we don't need an inspection.
Right.
We're ready, and you're ready for a deal.
Right.
They're ready with the cash on hand. They're like, here we go.
Right.
Like, obviously this is maybe a little bit less than you wanted, but I know what I'm buying.
Right.
This is the best I can do.
Right.
And it's going to be super easy for you.
And it's hard as a first-time investor because there's a lot of levers in what you just said that you need to know.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm going to flip your question a little bit.
Sure.
The mistakes that I see are really based on lack of knowledge going in, right? So if you, what I would recommend to any first-time investor is to spend more time preparing to be an investor. And by that, I mean, I want you to walk 100 houses before you even put in an offer.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
I want you to go to as many open houses as you can. It doesn't even have to be bad condition houses that you need a realtor to get into. Just go to open houses, right? I want you to walk through houses and get familiar with looking at them and get familiar with running the numbers.
And like seeing, okay, this kitchen is this way. What's the price of this house?
Right.
Or, how many beds, obviously beds and baths, but like, what's the basement like?
Yep.
Because I just sold a house. Well, it's closing next week. Is on the post foundations. Mm-hmm. And what's it called? It's like frame and post or something. I can't remember the technical name for it. Super rare foundation, right? Mm-hmm. So it's on posts, and then it has like the footings.
Was it in a water area? So it had to be.
No, it's in Oshkosh.
Oh.
So no flood zone, anything. And I'm like, okay, that's a different one. But realizing, like learning, okay, that's a unique thing. How does that affect what this house can be worth?
Yeah.
So like figuring out stuff like that, like walking through houses. But
I want you to learn, like as a brand new investor, I want you to learn how to, like what the values of houses are in your area, right? And don't try to take over an entire region at first, right? If you're trying to go Oshkosh to Green Bay, like that is a lot of information to try and squeeze into your brain, right? Take one, like just take Little Chute, at first, right?
Yeah.
Start smaller than you think.
Even Oshkosh, like in Oshkosh gets like a rap of being like a small, simple place sometimes. And it's like,
can change.
it depends on the area.
Yeah, the value of the property can change based on the street you're on.
Uh-huh.
So spend a lot of time, drive the area, look at the values, look at the values that have closed and the condition that those are in. Get familiar with what the values are going to be.
In that area.
That area. Yeah, it has to be localized.
A good example of this is, like that I use a lot is an example of like Oshkosh to Winneconne. They're not that far away. Totally different.
Even Oshkosh to Algoma. Like I just sold a duplex in Algoma and I could not comp it with other ones in Oshkosh.
Yeah.
Because I know the area well enough.
And so you're like, well, but it's not, and you're like trying to figure out, and like I had an agent who did a referral or wanted me to, so they were like a family of the seller. She ended up being the listing agent, and she was doing it for Winneconne. And I'm like, and she's coming out of like a big city, right? And I was more like, you should not be listing this. It was in Butamore, Winneconne, when I'm like, that's even more niche. Like, I'm like, I would never go and try to sell something in Milwaukee. You have to know, like, Milwaukee is so vast, so many different spots. And I'm like, Winneconne, Butamore area, it's obviously a lot smaller, but man, every street changes. And I'm like, especially if you have a lake view, now it's like, okay, well, if you don't know that area, how do you know how to comp that? You don't. You just don't.
Absolutely.
Unless you're from the area or have been doing it for a while.
Yeah. And the key to good investing is being able to make decisions fast.
Yes.
Like,
just
really
having
fast.
that knowledge and be like, that's a good deal.
Yep. And so until you can get through an analysis on a house and the flip in less than half an hour, you're not yet ready.
Yeah.
You're not. So that's the biggest mistake I see investors making is that they don't put enough time into preparing.
And learning.
Yeah, you need to know the values of the property. You need to know current condition and what buyers are looking for. You need to understand how to walk houses and what to look for. You need to know what the different roof types look like, what the different foundation types look like, what different construction, styles are like and why and how you go about doing a rehab, right? What that actually construction process is. You need to know the costs of them, right? And there are lots of different ways to get that. I have a spreadsheet I'm happy to share if anybody wants that. I could send that to you and we can get it out to your audience. But that's just my spreadsheet, right? It's based on my costs and the type of materials that I like.
Yeah.
But you have to choose your own materials and costs and vendors too, right? So there are softwares you can use for that. Some people like me have spreadsheets. You can work with contractors. You can spend 40 hours at Home Depot, which is actually how I created my spreadsheet to begin with.
Yeah.
But you got to put in the time, and then you have to really understand the project management process. And that's whether you want to be a flipper or if you want to be a landlord. Like there are lots of things to learn first.
Yeah.
And I think if you go in unprepared, like I did with that little lease from the internet and a prayer, I was lucky.
Yeah.
But I don't recommend that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Do you have how can people reach you if they have any questions?
Yeah, my name is Jennie Buah, Jennie. I'll be specific about that.
Yeah.
It is Jennie Buah at kw.com, and my number is 920-442-7011.
Awesome. Well, reach out to her if you have any questions with real estate or investing or staging, or if you need anything staged.
That's right.
And let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, thanks for watching.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Big Talks podcast, where vision meets action and stories build legacy. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's chasing something bigger. Until next time, keep talking big.